Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
All right, welcome back to this episode of Dogged It. I'm really excited for this, guys. This should be pretty fun. We got the gangs all here. Mike Pinozzo from Billiards Digest, Melina Mike, and myself, Joey Ryan. You guys excited for this?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be. I can't wait to load up the rest of these guests because it's gonna be like dinner table when I grew up at the Pinozzo household. 5 big voices, and I'm not gonna get 3 words in edgewise, so I got to get some out right now.
Listen, both of them are known to say a little something controversial from time to time, which I can appreciate. And so that's why we brought them on. Their color, their insight, their knowledge, and it's Moscone season, man. We're like less than a month away.
Let's tee it up.
Yeah. Hey, let's bring him in. We got Karl, boys, and we have Scott Frost joining us to the show today. How's it going, guys?
What's up? What's up, Joey? Mike.
The pundit.
Mike.
The
What's
pundit.
up, Shag? Hey, Shaggy. Shaggy.
Yeah, it's all good. How is everyone?
Everyone's good. Everyone's good.
Hey, we're good. We're excited. It's that time of year. We build up for it all year long. We're leading up to Mosconi Cup. Scott, you're on the pundit team this year. That's super cool. Why don't we start with you? What are you most excited for this event this year?
I'm nervous but excited. I know when I get in the booth, I think everything will kind of go away. But the Alexandra Palace, I've done more research on that building than probably the latest contractor on that thing. But I'm excited to feel the vibe, and really, I don't think I could get in at a better year with what's been going on as far as the picks and a little bit of drama here and there. So I couldn't be more grateful. I can tell you that much.
Most recent contractor at Alexandra Palace, Scott, was from about the 15th century.
Well, 1850. Yeah, the most recent one was actually, I think, in 1857. But never mind. I don't know.
Little known facts. Karl, what say you? You've been around the Moscone Cup for many years, both on the player side and also being behind the microphone. How pumped are you, heading into the UK in a few weeks, just given the build up and the last minute twists and turns?
Yeah, I can't wait. Obviously, I never got to play at Ali Pali, but I've been there working the event, and I've actually been there on a bit of a session on the beer for a few days as well as a fan. It's a fantastic arena. It's a scary arena. It's like so busy and it's just so big. The atmosphere is, it's unbelievable. And obviously, like you said, with the twists, I'm sure we're going to get into that. I think this year, everyone just can't wait to, see what unfolds 30th anniversary.
Yeah, without a doubt. What you got, Mike?
Well, I was going to ask Scott, same thing Joey did, which what you're most excited about. But what, Scott, in your looking at the Moscone Cup history and the teams and the formats and things like that, have you got any thoughts put together yet on what do you think are going to be critical parts of the event? Who you expect to get big performances out of? Who you're most interested in watching? The doubles pairings. What do you think of those? Just kind of looking at how you've dug into what your role is going to be there.
Yeah, honestly, I've looked into it quite a bit. I think, I could I could take this whole time up, and I got to be real careful I don't do that. So I'll just say, 2018, 2019, I don't know if everybody here knows what years those were, but those were the last 2 years that USA won the Cup, right? And there was a common factor with that year or those years. And he's not around anymore, but I think there's another player that is, and that player was Justin Bergman. So 2019 was when Skyler kind of really broke through. He beat Fahan. I think USA was up 6-5 in points, and he ends up beating Fahan to go up 7-5. And he ends up winning the final deciding point. And I think through that year, Skyler really stepped up emotionally, right? He's always had the ability, but I think he stepped up emotionally. And that really pulled the team along. Even though they've had recent losses the last 3 years, that really pulled the team along. So then you throw in Fedor Gorst, but Justin Bergman is out. I feel like those two guys, even though a lot of people might think I'm crazy, I feel like you could almost compare those two guys as far as how they carry themselves. Justin was a really quiet person, but an assassin on the table, right? So let's just replace Bergman with Fedor Gorst. And then I think that takes on a role of its own. And then you've got Skyler, who I believe is going to need to carry this team emotionally in a lot of ways. We don't have Billy Thorpe this year, but I think for good reason. There's a young Shane Wolford. But at the same time, Skyler's really the veteran now. Shane just does what Shane does. SVB does what SVB does. So I believe that it's going to be an interesting year. I think USA does have their work cut out for themselves. I'm going to be completely honest with this, right? They've got two brand new players that have never been in this format, in this setting. It's going to be interesting. Do they have the ability? There is absolutely no doubt. Do they have the chemistry? We don't know. I don't know. So that's kind of where I sit with that. We could get into matchups and things like that further down the podcast, but that's kind of where I'm sitting.
I want to talk about the rookie factor for a minute. I want to touch base with you, Karl, because you've been in that spot, you've been on that stage, you've walked out there for the first time. You know the heat, you know the pressure, you got palms sweaty, all those things. How different is it relative to anything else the pool world has?
Nothing compares. It doesn't matter what you've won. I mean, I would probably say the only thing that might slightly get close was the Hanoi Open for obviously Jason and Albin. They played in that final in front of all them people and they were screaming and shouting. But even then, you can't compare it because you're going out on your own. If you make a few mistakes, you sort of got to take it on the chin. We've all done it. You can't play perfect all the time. But in the team event, you're just so conscious that you've got to walk back in the team room. You're letting people down. It just never goes away. And the guys are going to be meeting up. They don't just rock up on the Wednesday and start playing. They sort of meet up a week before, they're practicing. So it just all builds up from the minute they all walk in the same building. And that just never goes away. So I think if you look at Europe and obviously, the likes of Shaw and Filler, they're just so strong in the team. And I agree with what Scott says. I think a lot of people think, I've seen a lot of stuff online where they think it's going to be a lot closer, but I think I agree with Scott. I think USA have still got it all to do. I just think you've just got to look at the guys who have won for Europe. And
well, I didn't.
I was going to say I didn't hear Scott say that.
No. I didn't say that, Shag.
You said underdogs.
No, I didn't say that word, pal. No chance. This could change immediately, right? It could change immediately. The moment they get on scene, right, it could change. I don't know what they're doing right now. I'm not in Jeremy's business. Not going to be. I don't think they're underdogs by any means. What I was referring to is I think that Fedor is kind of like a replacement of the 2019 Bergman, and they did quite well winning 11-8. So you don't know. I mean, we just don't know. I know you're used to Europe winning. I don't know that. I don't know that I'd get too comfortable.
Yeah, well,
the comebacks is going to be fun this year.
I can't wait. Right? Turn the volume up, son.
Who's going to win? Hey, who's going to win the combox? Karl Boys or Scott Frost? That's who's the favorite there?
Karl,
who's the underdog?
Phil Yates will win that one.
Yeah.
No, I disagree. I think obviously Bergman played in it. He had victories. There's nothing like getting victories in the cup. I think when Fedor played for Europe, there was no crowd, so he's a rookie in my eyes. I don't think he played that great for Europe that year as well. He looked very edgy, and it's not like he's playing for the first time in front of the American fans. Believe me, he's going to get drilled.
Well, you got you got 5 veterans on the blue and yellow, and then you got 5 guys who are proven, right? 5 guys who can all step up, whether individually or in a team format. You look at David and Fran and their doubles chemistry. You look at them individually on the Moscone Cup. You think about Albin, all the success he's had in the World Cup of pool and doubles. He's been a Moscone Cup staple for so long. And then the afterthoughts are the 2 guys who are probably the most clutch over the last like 7 years in Josh and in Jason, right? And I'm with you guys. I think Federer being a rookie is going to be a massive question mark for Team USA. And not just that, but how much are those European fans going to try to rattle that kid? Because I think that's a real deal on the horizon, and whether or not he's going to be not, he knows it's coming, but whether or not you can step up to the challenge once the heat's on, that's going to be a different story.
I just don't know that we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about Federer Gorst, though. And I'm sorry, guys, I don't mean to jump in, but we're talking about Federer Gorst. It's not like he's going to go up there and miss ball in hand or dog the shot clock, right? I don't think he's going to play bad.
You mean he ain't had shot clock issues before? Have we been watching the same guy?
I don't think that's going to happen leading up to this, and I probably shouldn't even said shot clock. But I do believe that he's going to play good. I think the biggest issue is, or the biggest concern, not the biggest issue, I think the biggest concern is the camaraderie, right? How is Team USA actually going to fit like a Chinese handcuff, right? How are they really, really going to be one? And I think that's the biggest key for Team USA this year.
I think that's a great point. And I'd be curious to hear from Karl about what you think might be the biggest concern for Team Europe. Obviously, they look great on paper. It's really the same team from last year, and they did well last year, and there's no real chinks in the armor there. What could possibly go wrong for Team Europe? Is there anything?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, actually. I think, obviously, it's the same team as last year, so they're going to go in with that mindset of, we can't be beat, we're the number one. But we've got a new captain. We don't know what he brings to the table. We don't know how he is with the players. We don't know if he's going to get the players' respect. Any little thing in that environment, it can trigger funny things. I think that's where, when Scott said USA won back-to-back cups, Johan's a genius, getting the best out of every player, making him gel. He's just unbelievable at that. I've played under the guy. He just has a real good knack of speaking to you like over in the corner or at breakfast. He just knows what to say. So I don't know what, obviously, Ralph's going to bring to the table. Also, maybe there might be a slight bit of needle in Team Europe because we've got the WPA and the World 9-Ball Tour. Everyone's been talking about what's Joshua Filler going to do. Jason Shaw's obviously all over social media. He's right behind the World 9-Ball Tour. You just never know. You never know.
Yeah. Well, listen, the team that was walking on cloud 9 last year got lucky to get away with the W. Let's just be real. You had Earl on that team who was a massive head case, and I say that with all due respect to the legend, that it was a complete liability. And even with that, it was, what was it, boys, like 8-8 with Sky, with Sky missing that ball at such a clutch spot. Then you have Federer taking the place of Earl. I think Team Europe, I think they're going to be sweating a little bit. I think there's going to be some expectations and some nerves. And I think while there is question marks, like Scott said, as far as the chemistry, you got 5 guys who you got a solid like 4 guys on Team USA who can deliver on the Moscone Cup stage. 4 guys. There's a question mark when it comes to Wolford, but Tyler's kind of held his own weight over the last few years. But aside from that, I think Team Europe, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. I mean, a lot.
Have you been in that arena, Karl, where you felt more pressure as the home team because of expectations? And is that a possibility in a situation like this, where if things do start to go a little bit sideways with Team Europe, that their fans are going to make things even tougher on them?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think when you're at home, just the environment when you walk out, it really makes you pumped up. And I think if you look at the last time was at Ali Pali, I remember poor Tyler Steyer. Every time he had a long shot, the crowd was just brutal. Listen, I mean, it was brutal. They was like, literally, as he was about to cue the ball, they were like going, oh. And then they'd stop right before he was about to cue. He'd miss it by a mile. And then it was just getting hissed. Listen, the crowd are going to give it. Obviously, they do. I mean, in Vegas, the Americans have started to bring it against the Europeans. I think that's why, Melina, when you were saying last year, Europe were looking a little bit edgy. So I think home team advantage is definitely in favour of the home team. I don't think, it's going to go against Europe.
The European sharking fans are like 900 Fargos compared to like the 600 Fargo speed of the American fans when it comes to sharking. It's not even, it's apples and oranges. I think they gave it to them a little bit, but those Europeans are like master class when it comes to getting in the heads, man. They just do it. They come up with songs, all kinds of things.
Well, don't forget we start at 7 p.m. So they're all in London on the beer. So
yeah, hit the sauce.
There's beer in London? I didn't know there was any beer.
We'll find some.
Not for the working press.
Yeah, all right.
Scott, what about you? If you see any weaknesses in the European team, what do you think they might be? Or, what maybe is Jeremy's approach in kind of encouraging Team USA? Just some things that they can kind of look at and say, hey, we got every chance to win this thing.
Well, they do have every chance to win this thing. And I think, and I can only compare myself to maybe, let's just say, a real big money match or a real big tournament that I've won before and coming back to that tournament next year. It's very simple. The win that Team Europe had last year, they basically, and I'm just going to say it, they basically played a four-man team, right? And that's the truth. They basically played a four-man team. I don't know that Earl won a single match.
Oh, I think Scott might have gotten a phone call.
Yeah. Earl online too.
Yeah.
He was about to talk bollocks anyway.
Let's send Scott to the back. I'll send him a message to refresh.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. He's back. Hold on.
Okay. All right, hold on. Here we go. Let's bring him back in.
I think he's back.
Scott, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I never left.
Earl Strickland called you real quick.
Yeah, I did get a couple text messages, so I don't know. People asking me if I'm wearing red shoes.
That's funny.
And anyway, my whole point to that was, and if you can't hear me, let me know. I'll try and fix it. My whole point to that was Team Europe could be, you can really get complacent. You can get too comfortable at times, right? And I understand they're going to have confidence. The heart rate's going to be as high as it's ever been. They've got the fans at 7 p.m. But it's easy to get real comfortable, real confident, overly confident. And all of a sudden, here comes Team USA, and then they're sneaking in, and they win the first point. They win the second point. Of course, this has happened in the past, but if Team USA plays solid behind that, or even if it stays close, 2-2, 3-2, and then it's 3-3, as long as it stays close and USA plays solid, the home effect can have a complete reverse on you too, because the crowd becomes silent, they become angry, and the other players, which is Team USA, will feed on that. So I don't think it's about the ability or the skill anymore, right? In this entire format, I've watched it every year. I think it's about how these players get along with each other. I really do, and how they believe in each other.
I think it's an interesting point. It kind of goes back to what Karl was saying before about one of the wild cards here is Ralph Eckert, and what happens if Team USA gets a little bit ahead? What happens if Team Europe looks a little bit rattled? Karl, is that a type of thing that would raise concerns to you? Is his ability to regather the troops, get them focused, light a fire on whatever he needs to do? What do you think along those lines?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's key. Obviously I've been lucky to play under some great captains. I remember when I was vice captain with Alex, and we lost. I can't remember if we won the session or we lost it, but Europe didn't play great on day one. And Alex went back in the room, and it was all a bit like Scott said, all a bit confident, all a bit, we've won it, so many times. America have only won it like 3 out of the last 16, something like that. And I think you've got to be careful you don't get complacent. Obviously you're going out there, the guys in the Europe team, they've had a lot of success in the cup, since 2007. It's all been about Europe. So if things don't go well, I just don't know what Ralph's going to bring to the table, because I've never had any dealing with him. So it's going to be key what he says. Me and Scott are going to be edgy out in the arena talking about it. What's Ralph going to be like? I don't even know if he's ever been to the Moscone Cup.
No, I don't think he's ever been to a Moscone Cup.
How vital would a player like Jason then be for that team?
Exactly.
Yeah, without a doubt. Obviously he's very vocal, but not
Right.
just Jason. You're looking at, you've got Filler. That kid's a joke. Then you've got Al Qaeda. He's mid-40s. He's got all the experience. He was under a lot of pressure last year. He played very well in the cup.
Very well.
And then obviously you've got Albin, who he doesn't say much, but when it matters, he can step up. So, but I think Ralph Ecker, there's a big question mark. I think day one is obviously crucial. Usually, whoever wins day one seems to go on and win the cup. That seems to be quite a high stat. But I don't know. I think on paper, Europe are still big favourites, me.
One of the things to me that's most intriguing about the Mosconi Cup is not just the collection of 10 great individual players, but the Scotch doubles matchups. I think they're critically important. And when you look at Team Europe, there's a natural one with Fran and David, obviously. We know they play great together. They've won the World Cup of Pool. I'm curious, looking at Team USA, let's start with Scott. What Scotch doubles team do you like the best, or maybe some good combinations there on Team USA?
You guys are going to think I'm crazy, and I've thought a lot about it, but I think there's method to the madness. I would put Federer and Wolford together immediately, because here's why: if they play good together, or if they start out playing good together, Federer's no rookie, right? Okay, he played in
first doubles.
Yeah. Now, maybe not first doubles. I would put them together at some point, right? Maybe not first doubles. Maybe. I don't know. But if they start playing good, if they have one good game, the first game's good, this could set the tone for the entire team. That's the whole point, right? Sure, get your two powerhouses out there and let them get roasted. What good is that? Why don't you just take this young kid, Shane Wolford, who's got all the ability in the world, and then take a veteran that's already a veteran in Federer Gorst. It's not. We all know he's not going to make many mistakes, right? He might make some mistakes, but he's not going to make many. Maybe he leads Wolford to the finish line. I'm not saying the first match, but you never know, right? But it could have a really positive impact on Team USA.
Could have a negative one.
That's a ballsy approach.
I'm just saying, it really could.
Yeah.
We had that with Kazakis and
Kachi.
Yeah, Marcus put them two out.
Exactly going to say that. He threw them out first as a pairing.
And it didn't go well?
No, because it's not been the same since, pal.
Well, it could go well. Yeah, it could go well.
That was 2018. They threw them out there as doubles on the first day, and it was okay. This wasn't their best move.
Look, Federer has said.
Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, Federer's come out and said how much he enjoys like the individual aspect of the sport, So I like getting him out there and getting him comfortable on his own 2 feet. I think that's the only way to do it when it comes to that kid. Let him find his footing a little bit, get some traction. And then I don't mind that approach, Scott, because you know what Federer's ceiling is. We ain't seen it out there, but we know what his ceiling is. And if he's got a little bit of traction, a little bit of grease on those wheels, then I don't mind that approach. But that would be a roll of the dice, and I'm sure a lot of Europeans, I don't care which combination, will be chomping at the bits to go up against two essential rookies in Federer and Wolford.
Yeah, but I didn't know that we were talking the very first match. The very first match I would probably put in. I'd have Skyler in there for sure as a partners game or a doubles game. I'd have Skyler in there for sure. Maybe Skyler and Shane. I don't know. Maybe Skyler and Federer. But my whole point to that is you guys keep acting like Federer's just going to be like this deer in headlights. We're talking about, in my opinion, the top 2 player on the planet in all-around games without a doubt. And that's my honest opinion. So I don't know. I think we're being a little hard here on Federer Gorst.
Well, you say that, but SVB might be the greatest of all time, and he's not exactly played well in the cup.
Oh, no.
Right, and he's a good friend of mine, and I'll just call it like it is. We talk while he's at the cup, and there's a load of pressure on that young man. That's why I think these later years are getting better, because Skyler's kind of filling that void. So when there's all that pressure, everybody's relying on SVB. I'm not going to repeat what he says to me, but
this is why we brought you on.
A lot of times he wants to find the furthest corner from the building and just tuck his head because there's a lot of pressure and they're getting drilled, right? And everybody's looking to him. He's just a one-man band. He can't cover this whole team. So I go back to Fedor Gorst, who's a young man that can do everything. He's the innovator of the great jump, in my opinion. I don't look for Fedor to be a deer in headlights at all. I really don't. I don't look for it. The only person I have some concerns on is Wolford, just because I've watched him this year, and there's 100% he's got the talent. Is he ready for this? I don't know. I understand why he's here. I get it, and I really hope that he shines.
Karl, which Scotch pairings do you like for Team USA? Who would you be inclined to match up together?
Are we talking about day one, the opening day?
No, I don't know where that
matters.
came from. I just said
no. Listen, I think if you're going to talk about the pairings, I think you've got to look at day one, because I think it sets such a precedent.
That's the tone.
Because you've got the team point. Anyone can win the team point. It's such a funny point, isn't it? So
yeah,
I think that very next point's crucial, because you're either tied or you're 2 down. If you start going 2 down, that guy coming out for the singles is under heat. So we always felt, or Johan or Laylee, they always felt like that second point, the first doubles, was one of the biggest points of the cup. So you've got to go strong, haven't you? I think, like, maybe put Fedor out for the singles. You ain't going to put Wolford out for singles, right? Wolford's
day one, no, right?
Is Wolford really close to anyone in Team USA?
Yeah, I mean, he's subject to beat some of these guys in tournament matches.
Maybe like
personality,
like a Sky he is, yeah.
Sky,
yeah, like friendly, not close as in beating. So maybe Skyler's the man to play doubles with Wolford. He's got all the experience. He's won big points. Maybe throw Fedor out for the singles. Just let him get it over with. Get all the shouting and the abuse done.
Right.
And then obviously you've got SVB. SVB's played a lot of singles points and lost them big matches. So I think if I was in charge of USA, I'd try and swerve him out of the way a little bit, because he's always playing Jason or Philo.
That's what I was going to ask you about. That's what I was going to ask you about, Karl, was how much. One of the things that I think Fedor really does to Team USA that's different than other years, that gives them an advantage or a lot more hope, is that it's not a 2-man roster anymore with 3 guys that you hope hold their own, right? Now you've got 3 guys. So it really can change the way you mix and match pairings, the way you run people out, matchup wise. What do you
bulletin board, son?
What do you think?
Like
what do you think it does, Karl, to the matchups, in the way things, the way Jeremy will set things up for Team USA?
Repeat that, because I was looking at the comments.
It's all right. I spent most of my life being ignored, so it's not a big deal. What I'm saying is that the addition of Fedor really changes up the predictability of your matchups, because it adds that third number 1 type of guy into your matchups. So, you can steer Shane away from having to play Jason or Josh every time he goes out for a singles match.
Yeah,
so how would you strategically try to play that along?
Yeah, I think I just remember Darren always used to. Obviously, I've not quite. They changed the format a little bit, because they used to end day one on a singles point, right? But if my memory serves me right, it ended on a doubles last year. So I'm guessing they're going to do the same again, but I've not seen the team sheet or anything like that yet. But let's just say it doesn't finish with singles. I think back in the day, Shane was always playing Darren, wasn't he? And obviously anyone's going to lose to Darren and Filler and Shaw, them big points. I think, listen, Fedor's class. We all know his class. It's just, this is why we're here. We're talking about it. He's not played in front of that crowd. It's going to be the European crowd. He's definitely going to be feeling it. Everyone feels it. And you don't know how he's going to perform. Does he miss a few shaky ones? Does he go out there and play lights out? If he goes out there and plays great in the opening singles, he's going to play doubles with anyone for the rest of the cup and feel like King Kong, just because that's the way that event is. But obviously, it's such a massive talking point that Fedor's now playing for USA. Obviously, not just this cup moving forward, the whole dynamic changes. And as Frosty was saying before, Shane was always a little bit down, probably not really believing in the team. Now he knows he's got certainly another two guys who can go out there on their own, even in the doubles, take control, win the singles. He's got two of the big players to do that. So the whole dynamic changes massively.
I think that's what.
Yeah, it takes a lot of sorry, Mike. It takes a ton of pressure off of Shane.
Agreed, Mike. That's what I was
It
going to
really
say, Scott.
does.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where he can be dangerous, because if SVB doesn't have the weight of the team on his shoulders, that's when he can be the SVB that is the legend himself. You know, maybe not on that stage, but just in general, right? And when you got guys who can Captain Clutch and Sky, right? You got Federer who he's got the ability to get you big points. It remains to be seen, but he's certainly capable. That's when SVB can be, when he becomes, as crazy as it sounds, more of an afterthought, then he can be just deadly and be an anchor of a team, because he's not that rah kind of guy, but he can go out there and deliver when he plays a little more free, you know?
And then I agree, Mike, totally. And then you can't overlook Tyler Steyer. I'm being sincere here. His fundamentals are unbelievable. It seems like each year he gets more comfortable with this event, right? So he could really shine to another level as well.
Yeah.
It will be interesting.
We said that last year, Scott, during the event. Melina and I, were there watching every shot, and we said Tyler looks like he belongs. He looks like
he does.
He looks like
and he's got a big win this year.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be a fixture every single year at Moscone from now on. He just looked confident. He looked very good. He had that one moment where he tried the four-railer. He was up against the shot clock, and that was kind of a
sure.
I think if you ask him, he'll say that was a mental error. And, a lot of times you have plans and they don't work out that way, If he makes that shot, nobody's saying anything about it. But one thing I'm really curious about is current form. I think that's kind of interesting. And when you look at Team Europe, Jason's got a comment down there. Every year, Jason Shaw, through the first part of the year, he's just going through the motions, and then he just happens to get hot at the end of the year, every single year. And I'm like, oh man, now Jason's playing good. You have Albin who is playing really well right now. David played well through stretches. Josh won in Qatar. He's playing well. The one player that I look at as maybe having a little bit of a question mark, interestingly, is Francisco, who was probably the hottest player on the planet for the last 2 years. But right now, he's not really at the top of his game, it doesn't appear. Do you agree with that, Karl? Do you think maybe he's got a little something to prove here?
Possibly. I mean, obviously, we all know how difficult pool is. 1 minute you're riding the wave and then you're under the wave. So I think he's just going through that motion. But I think the good thing for Francisco is the same as last year. He's got his buddy Al-Qaeda there, hasn't he? Al-Qaeda sneaked in the team on the rankings. Day one, I expect them two to play the doubles together at some point. And I think just the fact that he's there, it's the same team as last year. So even though he's going to be a rookie in Europe, he's going to have a lot of the Spanish over, and I'm sure his father's going to be there. So I don't really worry about that. I actually think the Moscone Cup, it's not really about current form. It's just a weird event. It's just so unique. I think the Moscone Cup is about your memories. Have you had good times at the Moscone, or have you been under the gun? That's what I believe the Moscone Cup is about, just because it's so different.
I remember last year when Team Europe was down, we asked Laley, I think, are you guys any kind of nervous? And he had a pretty epic quote, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he was like, if you were down, whatever it was, 3-1 in a race to 11, would you be nervous? And I was like, well, when you put it like that, I get it, But that was the leadership that he brought, and you got 5 guys there who have been through it, 5 guys who can weather a storm, 5 guys who can handle adversity, not just in the team dynamic that is the Moscone Cup, but individually as well. And I think that's where, when you think about intangibles, it's very heavily weighted towards those Europeans.
And then you got to wonder, does Team Europe respect Ralph? Is Ralph really going to bring it for these guys? I mean, you just got to wonder. And I think that Fran could have a rough cup. He could have a rough cup. Typically and Karl, you understand this, I think we all do, when you have such a outrageous 2 years, it's pretty much, I'll bet it's unmatched for a long time to come, his 2 years. When you have such an outrageous 2 years, the downhill slide from that at times, yes, he's going to have a team behind him, can be pretty major. It can be pretty major. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Fran.
Fran had such a great year last year, but he did not, play super, super well in the Cup.
No, not
from what
great.
I remember. He didn't play great at all. So, maybe this year is a little more pressure off him because they got the same team. They're riding, some guys who are playing really well. He can kind of come in as the number 5 guy if he wants to feel that way instead of the number 1 or 2. Like last year, the expectation was so high on him because of the year he had. So I expect him to play better this year than he did last year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he started off with a scratch. I think his very first shot. I mean, you thought, here we go. He handled that pretty well. What are you gonna say, Joe?
Yeah, I was going to say, Scott, I know just from knowing you how kind of in tune you are with your equipment, and you know the ins and outs of how it plays. You like what you like. What impact do you think this change for Fedor Gore switching to a new sponsor and new equipment may have on the Cup?
Well, I do know the brand that he's playing with, and I'll tell you what, a lot of people probably don't know a lot about white carbon, and I was actually in talks with white carbon a long time ago. They're a high quality product, so I would bet that he's not going to be just going to an event like this with something he's uncomfortable with. So really, I mean, it's a great question from the outside looking in, but when you're on the inside and you're that player, at the end of the day, if he has to, he'll paint his shaft and play with what he's comfortable with. You know what I mean? He's not going to go out
get an inspector there before day number 1.
White Q-Tech.
The
Get
shaft
the calipers
police.
out. Get the weight. Get the scale out. We need to measure some stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, but he's not going to go out. I mean, I think it's a great question from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking out, there's no way he's going to go in there uncomfortable with his playing cues. It's not going. I just don't think it's even an issue.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Karl?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it all depends on what kind of start he gets on. Does he miss a couple of shots? Then with the heat and the crowd, do you start thinking about it? But you would think he's obviously going to be playing with this equipment, non-stop. He's going to be banging in the hours. But until you get out there and you start, he's not really going to play any big sort of pressure situation or big tournament before the Moscone Cup, right, with his cue. So you just never know. Also, I'm interested to see how the table sets up because the last couple of years it's been brutal, the table.
I heard it's going to be the same. Wow. I heard it's going to be the same specs. And that was super. If you remember, Earl Strickland had a straight in ball in the side pocket, but those sides are playing so tight, he elects to try to cut it all the way down to the corner.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world's playing that in the side, if we're not at that table experiencing what he's experiencing. But I think it just showed how uncomfortable he was with how tight those side pockets were. And I heard it's going to be the same specs.
Well, I think Karl hit the nail on the head. I'm not in agreement with Scott when it comes to like how big a factor the equipment will play. But, what Shane was when it comes to his work ethic all those years ago is what Federer is now. Right. Like he's very respected and known to just have an unbelievable work ethic, which is a big factor as to why he is on top of the mountain in so many aspects, But like Karl said, you can't recreate it. And there's been times this year, when a shot clock has gotten the better of him where, we'll see and I know he's been in a semifinal of the US Open. He's been in big spots throughout his whole career, right? He's won major tournaments. But it's a different dynamic. I think that's what sets up a lot of question marks to be had. But if he gets going, I think then that's when you're going to see these Europeans more on their heels and you're going to see what they're made of because I think, like Karl said, they're supposed to be kind of stealing here, and it's shifting.
Wow. I don't feel that way. That's crazy. Kind of stealing. I mean, I really don't feel that way. That's crazy to me.
Let me ask you a question. Would you take even money taking the Americans?
No, but kind of stealing and even money are completely different things. I'm pretty good. I'm a pretty good matchmaker. Right?
Hey, listen,
set the line. Set the line, Scott.
If somebody's laying 4, I think you're gonna have a lot of people snap call at 4. 4 is a lot.
I think that's the first mistake, right? People that give up games on the wire have lost their mind because in that sense, the number goes way up. So like 4 games to 11 would be something like. What would it be in a money line? It would be a big number. I really think if USA is like 7.5 to 5 or 8-5, I think that they've got a chance. I know that number probably sounds low to you guys, but really, I'm looking back at the last year, and we've replaced a couple players. I'm looking back at the last year. I think Jeremy is really seasoned. He knows what to look for. I know he needs a win this year. He really needs a win this year. I feel he can do it, but it also comes down to Wolford. Wolford could really shine. The kid's got the straightest shooting abilities on the planet. I don't think Feder is a problem. I don't think Feder's just going to like spontaneously combust out there, right? So just and sometimes playing away, right? I think USA wins in Europe. They win in Europe in 2018, right? Am I right or wrong? Okay.
Yeah.
They win in Europe in 2018, and Shane makes the final combination to do that. So that was a big hurdle for Shane, but we don't need to talk about Shane. Shane is always Shane, but he's going to have more confidence this year with Feder and Skyler really stepping up, as mentioned. But I think this matchup's way closer than four other guys, or at least three other guys on this stream are topping.
What say you, Karl, when it comes to the Wolford argument?
Listen, he's not done nothing, has he, on the world stage? He's just not been in the depths of it. He's not played in the big matches. He's never played in the Moscone Cup. He's the unknown factor, but all I will say is I think it's about time some of the American players grew a pair and really made a name for himself in the team.
Yeah.
Because if you do,
well, I mean, look at Tyler Steyer in 18.
If you do that,
same player.
I mean, forget this year, you could be a lock for the next 4 or 5 years because
exactly
that's what you need. So listen, obviously, hindsight, in the past, some of the players have struggled. We talked about Zakas. He really struggled. He's always going to struggle for that wild card now. That kind of what goes on, but maybe Wolford's going to go there. He was a bit disappointed. He didn't get in the team last year. Now he's going to get his chance, but I'll be honest, I've not seen a great deal of him. I know Scott's saying he's very talented, so I'll take his word, but I've not really seen a great deal of him play.
He's talented. I mean, I've watched him closely at several tournaments that I was at, and he's had chances to finish and not got there, but then he's won matches that I didn't know that he could win. I feel like if I'm Jeremy, I'm constantly putting it in Shane's head and Wolford's head that he's got nothing to lose, right? He's got nothing to lose, to Karl's point. Like, literally, you could really shine here, dude. And really shining doesn't mean you have to make every ball you shoot. Literally shining means have that emotion, have that fire, be that guy, right? Do everything you've got to do to shine, to show up, to get noticed, to get recognized, and play good behind it. Just play solid.
I think, what David was to Francisco, you're going to have, Sky and Jeremy is going to be that for Wolford. Two guys that he knows very well, that he's very comfortable with, that, trust him, and that'll maybe give him some, as much encouragement as it can be before you go and screw the queue together and get out there. They'll be saying all the right things in between racks and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's you and 3,000 other people out there watching you play pool, and that's not an easy task, let alone the other however many are watching at home. So a lot of question marks for sure, but there's also question marks when it comes to the European team. I'm curious, what you guys think about the Albin selection leading into December. I know what his history is, but he can be a little high or low at times himself.
Who else are you going to pick though?
Well, who would you pick? Who would you pick? Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kachi's not fully fit, let's be honest.
I mean, he looked pretty good when he came back to play.
Well, I don't believe he's fully 100% fit, and I think, obviously, maybe that's what swung it a little bit. But listen, Albin's, look at what the guy's won in the sport, you know what I mean? He's obviously played great in Moscone Cups. He's got a great record for wins.
The Hanoi Open.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's won some, some big pool tournaments, so he's arguably one of Europe's best players for the last friggin' 5, 6, 10 years, if you like. So
one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't think it's any kind of worry or shock that he's in the team. I think.
You don't think before Hanoi? You think before Hanoi he was a lock to make that team?
If I'm
I don't even think he wasn't on the radar.
We didn't think he was.
No, I just don't know who you pick though. I understand Katchi. If Katchi had played the rest of the season and done terrible, I can understand Katchi getting the pick, but I just don't see who else you pick. I know everyone keeps saying Europe could put 3 or 4 teams together, but I don't think they can.
No, thank you, because I agree with you there. Everybody keeps saying
They said that
They've
for
said
years.
it for years. And the fact of the matter is, Albin should get some, I think Ralph Eckert should give Albin some of his money, because he made the decision so easy for him by finishing second in Hanoi, because otherwise he's got to pick a rookie or Kachi, and then his neck is on the line. I don't think anybody, and I don't think any European fans wanted to see a rookie on Team Europe this year.
No.
There's no doubt that there's a lot more apprehension out of Team Europe, in European fans this year than there has been in the past.
They would still be the favorite, Pinozo. They would
Of
still
course,
be the favorite.
of course,
if you
they
throw
would still
Mario
be
He on there.
Of course, they would still be the favorite. But anytime they get a Mario He on there, or like an Alex Kazakis or Kachi the first year he was on, things like that, that's where all the fingers got pointed when they didn't win.
Well, Francisco held up fine.
Yeah, but
he got bailed out. He's not played great,
but he didn't hurt them.
Yeah, but you're talking about a guy who like won nearly every freaking big major in the season, won like $300,000. You're not talking about somebody who's just snuck in the team.
True.
Right. Look, I know
Albin.
No, Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, Francisco, of course. Yeah.
Look, we know the history of Albin in all big majors, and Albin had a great run in Hanoi. I think that interview with him gave us a lot more insight to who he was, and personally made me a bigger fan. But I also watched a lot of Albin throughout this year. I watched him miss an easy out against Carlo in like the Qatar Open. I watched him, miss a relatively easy out. I think it was against Sanjan earlier this year at a critical spot in single elimination. Like I've seen him miss, critical balls in big spots, and I know he came a little clutch when the time is right and got on this team. But he's not prone to, or he's not able to be without having any kind of nerves. Even though he's very seasoned.
Yeah, but he's fucking shit out in doubles, by the way.
Yeah, well, he's a monster, man. I mean, I get that. And listen, if that's the problem with Team Europe. If he's your 5, I mean, good luck. The guy's a multiple-time world champion. He's been in every single major on earth. Like that's what's brutal about Team Europe.
Carl, I want to get your take on the last day at a critical juncture where you need the point, right? Maybe it's Hill, maybe it's not. Maybe you're down 2 and you need that point, right? And I want you to take us through both teams. Who is that one guy that you're counting on each team to get that critical point that you absolutely need?
Filler for Europe.
No question marks, no nothing.
No, the guy's a joke.
Did you hear that, Jason?
No, I mean, obviously, Jason's not the worst guy. He said one player. I mean, for me, Filler he thrives off it. Jason's very energetic. He can do it, but sometimes, he's very
sometimes he gets a little too excited.
Sometimes, Jason, sit down. But obviously, Filler, I mean, he's just scary in that arena. Don't matter who he's playing. It just is what it is. Obviously, Shaw's a very close second, but I just mean that one player. But and USA's got to be. Did you ask what USA as well?
Yeah, I did, and that's the interesting one this year for me because it was always Shane or Sky. Shane, arguably one of the best players ever. Sky thrives at the Moscone Cup. Well, now you throw in Federer.
No, Woodward all day long.
100%.
Yeah, I don't think it's close.
Just that quick.
You gotta take that man's clutch spot from him in order to get that spot.
I kind of disagree. But
Scott Frost. Let's hear your view.
Scott's come on, Scott. Let's hear it.
I mean, I watch Shaw. Sean and I have been good friends. Like Karl and I have been good friends for forever too. But Sean, I've watched Shaw. When Shaw's heart rate gets up, I don't know how he does it. Nobody else does it like he does it. You just don't see him losing when he's running around the table doing this. You don't see him losing. So he would be a big consideration, especially since Skyler beat Filler in 2019. And when Filler, but to Filler's credit, Filler didn't lose a singles match that entire event until Skyler beat him. So I would consider Shaw all day long, especially with what he's done recently. I mean, he's really put the pedal to the metal. And then with Team USA, I think that obviously Skyler's a shoo-in unless Federer really shows us something that I think he could show us. I think he could really show us something special. So we'll see.
I'm with you. Yeah, but you just got to take it from that man first. But Sky's just got a different, like, it don't matter who he plays against, and I think if you ask a lot of the Europeans who's the one guy that they respect more, like, obviously everyone respects Shane, but as far as like them being able to stand up tough in big situations, I think majority of them will all say Sky. Every one of them.
I agree. I fully agree. I
Yeah.
100% agree. I just think that people are kind of and I'm not saying you guys. I think Federer's a little bit discredited in this situation just because he hasn't been in it. Yeah, I get it. There's 3,000 screaming fans. I get all of that, right? But players are real good at tuning that out as well.
Well, the tough part is, like, Federer, you would consider him one of the top 3 or 4 players in the world, no doubt about it. And while we all love Sky and we love how Sky gets up for the Mosconi Cup and he's susceptible to beating anybody at any time, at the end of the day, if you put Sky up in that position and he loses, a lot of people are going to question that and say, well, you had one of the top 3 players in the world. Why didn't you play that player? You don't think that comes up?
Yeah, and that's obviously part of coaching. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I think ahead of time who your probable pick would be, but then the circumstance and who's in form might change your decision on game day, right? So if Sky's playing typical Sky Moscone Cup, I don't think you think twice about it. If Sky's struggling a little bit and Federer's showing up, then you might have a second thought. But I think going into the event, you kind of have your mind set on who it would likely be, right? And I think that it would likely be Filler and Sky. And, who knows? I mean, you got to throw Filler out there because this might be his last Moscone Cup for a while, right?
I got to add this in, too.
Had to go there. Had to go there, guys.
I wanted to pepper that in there right at the end of the argument. Just throw that in there.
I've been waiting for this opportunity for half an hour.
Very cavalier, Mike. So I'm just going to toss that in there right at the end. Yeah.
I've got to throw this in real quick. I mean, without Billy Thorpe, and I do think Billy was a big factor, especially when you bring a guy like Federer in. You really still need that guy, right? Like that fucking guy. So
there you go.
You need that guy, right? And I think that Skyler knows that. I think that Skyler knows that he's going to have to fill those shoes, right? When you look at these 5 guys, I believe that he's the guy that has to fill those shoes. And that's okay. It's great to have 4 guys that are on a happy medium, and then you need that guy to really rise up. And Sky's done that over the years. So it's going to be interesting to see if Sky is that guy and also plays like that guy behind it, So really the pressure is starting to, we can all feel it. It's starting to like really roll into Skyler Woodward. Is he
the key to USA winning? You feel like?
I think Federer's the key to USA winning. I think it's going to come down. If Federer plays real good, I think the pressure's off Shane. I think Shane's going to play solid. I really do. I know Sky's going to play solid. He might have rough patches. He does at times. But I think it really comes down to Federer. If he plays like I think he'll play, I think this match will be a lot closer because then he takes pressure off Wolford.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. I was going to say that Federer could solidify a legacy here, right? If he goes out and performs in the Mosconi Cup and ends up bringing this cup home for Team USA, I mean, he's going to be considered the best player in the world, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
So, Karl, so one of the – yeah, still. I mean, look, the guy's winning. I mean, he's a great player. But, Karl, I have a question for you because, I thought that when – Albin scratches on that ball in Hanoi on the break and Jason wins, I thought he was the luckiest man in the world until I saw that you actually picked that tournament to follow him around and make a documentary, and he wins the whole darn thing. How in the world did that happen? I mean, you had to be over the moon.
You didn't know that
so much success in that tournament, right?
The whole event was fixed. You're just
hearing this. They've been filming behind the scenes for 2 years.
They filmed all those interviews 3 months before the tournament.
To be fair, we followed short at the US Open.
I did, yeah.
That was the first event we did.
Yeah.
Obviously, he got to the quarterfinal, and he said, like, I'm kind of enjoying this because obviously Frost, you know what he's like. He likes to be around people. He travels to all the events with his wife. Ira's got him under a lock and key when she's there, so you don't get to see him. But He's a fun character, Jason. He likes to be around the boys. He likes to be chatting to everybody. He likes to be seen.
Great.
Yeah, so I think obviously he felt like, well, he weren't just on his own and then going for dinner and back to the room. Obviously, Lawrence was following him with the camera everywhere, so they were like high-fiving. He was like a bit of a corner man when they were finishing, so he really liked it. And, obviously, because we went straight to Hanoi and filmed that one, he just looked so relaxed because previous to US Open, he'd been to one final 16.
Right.
Of the Open events. He was doing pretty bad in them, really. So I think it just kick-started it and he felt good in himself. So obviously the game's there. We know the game's there. I think it was just everything away from the table. You feel like that's got to be right. And then obviously when he won in Hanoi, and obviously we were filming every little move.
Yeah.
That's why you've not seen the US Open one, because we thought, well, we've just got to get Hanoi, get the US Open. So, obviously it was unbelievable. But that's what he's like in the Mosconi Cup as well. All his friends, family go. He just loves the whole week. That's why he plays so good. That's what he needs. So if Ara's watching, you got to leave him alone.
It's very well done, and if any of our audience hasn't seen it, check out Karl's YouTube page and check out the documentary from the Hanoi Open where he follows around Jason Shaw. It was excellent.
Yeah, you stepped in it now, son.
Oh boy!
It's pretty humor. Relax.
No, but it's a genius documentary.
Oh, that's so funny. She's about to go off on Karl. The last time y'all see Karl, yo.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for Ara.
Hey, who's calm down? She's all right.
Who's a liability on Team Europe, Karl?
Who's a liability?
Well, other than Ralph, because you kind of mentioned he's an unknown, right?
Well, yeah. Unknown.
God, I don't know. I find it hard to pick one, to be honest. Yeah, maybe you got to go with your captain. Don't know what he's going to bring to the table. I'm not concerned about Sanchez. Obviously, last 2 years he's been awesome. The fact that Al-Qaedi's there, it's the same lads. Yeah, maybe the captain. I don't think any of the players are going to struggle, really. I think they'll all pull for one another. If one of you gets beat, you're having a mare. Usually, the next guy will come out, doubles or singles. So I'll stick with the captain.
What say you, Scott? Team Europe.
I think Fran could be a little bit of a concern. I know the difference is, and you guys have talked about it, is you've got four other guys that are going to be picking you up, so you really never know who's going to be that guy, unless it's a situation for USA last year. I mean, I don't think many of us thought that Earl could just do something miraculous. I even in Earl's defense, very, very tough to do what he was spotted to have to do, but. Maybe Fran, I don't know. I think liability is the wrong word anyway. So I don't know.
Or maybe concern. If you're going to have any kind of concern whatsoever.
Yeah, I think it could be Fran. It could be Albin or Fran.
What about what Karl said earlier about maybe a little extra pressure on Joshua given the WPA situation? He seems to be, out of all 10 players, he seems to be the only one that may be faced with a really difficult decision because of his ties to his federation and, maybe his sponsor, things like that. So do you think that could have an impact on his play, Karl?
Yeah, I think I think that's where the captain's got to come in. For me, like I said, I don't know what Ralph's going to,
You need Pia to be captain then.
Yeah, I don't know if the chat's going to be there. I don't know. I just don't know. It's a funny situation, but I know everyone keeps, it's all speculation. We don't know, come March.
Right.
What's Joshua going to pick? If there has to be a pick, is Phil going to go and just play WPA events? I don't know, but let's say if he is, there's going to be a little unrest in the team because, you've got players who, don't like the WPA. They don't like what they've stood for years. But again, that's why Ralph's going to play a key part in this. I know the team are meeting before up in Scotland for training. And obviously, Ralph will put his stamp on it. But I just don't know much about the guy, really, to be honest.
Well, we've seen in years past where decisions that the captain make can be very weighted. Right, or poor decisions you make can also be under a microscope on this stage above anything else. Right, we've picked them apart in years past, including the last year that Marcus was a captain for Team Europe. So I think like if there's ever going to be a question, it's going to be about him. But like Jason said in the chat, they're a team and they got veterans, they got leadership. And so I think from just weathering storms and wins and losses, things like that, you got too many big guys in there that they're just going to lift you up, pick your chin up, and
Right.
reboost your confidence. I'll ask you guys the same question just on the American side. Who's the biggest question mark coming into the Moscone Cup? I'll start with you, Karl.
The biggest question mark, I'm going to say, obviously, we're going to say Wolford, right? Just because he's never played. And Fedor Ghost.
Yeah. What about you, Karl? I mean, Scott, sorry.
Yeah, it's clearly Wolford. I don't think so much Fedor Ghost. I think the light's on him because, you know, he's now on Team USA. But I think it's obviously going to be Wolford. But I also think it's a great pick in a lot of ways because visibility. It really is an opportunity for him to shine. So the questions will be answered come December 3rd.
All right, boys, it's time for a contest. Okay, out of all 5 of us, let's give your prediction, final score.
December 6th, by the way. I'm brain dead.
Let's start with Karl, boys. Karl, what do you have for a final score? Who do you have winning?
I'm going to say 11-7 Europe.
Okay, Scott Frost.
I'm going to say it'll be 11-9 or 11-10 Europe with an outside shot of USA winning 11-8.
You let me down, Scott. Melina Mike.
I'm just being honest.
Oh man,
I'm going.
I'm going with the twist here, boys. No, I'm going with the twist. I think the pressure shifts the other way. I think they're going to shock the world. Give me 11-8 in favor of the Americans.
Ooh, Panozzo.
I'll give USA 11-9.
Ooh, USA.
That's no surprise. Mike's a homer every year. You can ask him the same question. He literally says USA every year.
That's not even true.
All right, it's been a great show, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, no, wait a minute. Yeah.
I think on paper, Europe's gonna.
Of course,
they're supposed to win. On paper, they're supposed to win. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think, and like I slipped that in there. I want to be clear. I think very easily, and it's going to happen somewhere in that 7-8 point range. Very easily, Team USA could win 11-8, 11-9. It really all comes down, and I hate to put the pressure on the young man. It really all comes down to Wolford, in my opinion. That's why I would personally want to get him. But I've got my own way of doing things. But that's my feeling. We'll see.
All right, I'm going 11-9 USA. And yes, I'm a homer, and I'm the worst sports bettor in the world. So book it.
That means Team Europe is a lock now. When Joey picks USA,
unless you're picking the same side as Dominic Dunn, Joey, you are not the worst bettor in the world. So we got some competition. Let me ask you this, guys, real quick. If we got another second, someone brought it up, and I had it down here. I wanted to ask for fans' choice. Karl, who's it going to be?
Fans' choice is going to be Fedor versus Shaw.
You think so?
100%. Bet what you want.
Yeah, it will be.
It will be. Yeah,
it will be.
Right.
There's no doubt.
But obviously, it's a funny one voting, isn't it? But obviously, America should be voting for Woodward, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Fedor's American now, man.
No, I mean, obviously, when the voting opens for the individual point, all the Americans should be voting for Woodward to play.
Yeah.
Because he's the guy who's won the big points. Yeah. Not saying Fedor.
Well, and it's
a freebie.
Fans don't bet with their head; they're betting with their heart. They all want to see. Everybody wants to see, especially after the press conference. Everyone's going to want to see.
That was the problem last year when they voted for Earl. That was the big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, they let you off the hook, Karl. Let's be real. Earl let the Europeans off the hook, big time.
No, the fans voted for Earl.
Yeah. That was a problem.
This might sound a bit crazy, but obviously, do we know, roughly, is there a lot of American fans actually coming?
What's that?
Do we know what? I don't know.
Do we know if there's
my people they were.
Do we know if there's a lot of American fans coming over?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's usually, it's usually tops out at like 100.
I'd say over that. I'd say over that.
I don't think you're going to see 500 like you do with Europeans coming over, but
Okay.
it'll probably pick up a little. But I've not really heard a lot from that standpoint.
Well, Karl, this is your opportunity. Give him your sales pitch.
Don't miss it. Frosty, the new pundit, will be there giving his view. Will be there. Jason Shaw's got a quick question. I just
Come on, Jay. Let's hear the question.
Yes?
Jesus.
Yeah, come on. Let's hear the question. We're waiting on you.
Oh,
Let's hear it.
gosh.
If it's about Ara, I was joking.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ira's not going to let him answer
Me
ask the
too.
question. Ira just turned off
Live
his
show,
computer.
Jason.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is why I
do you
love
think
the
they're going to
Moscone
have
Cup.
you think they're going to have fans' choice doubles too?
Oh, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, we had it, right? I don't know. They've been very secretive about the team sheet.
Yeah.
Mention my name again, Karl. Your ass is in hot water with our. Oh man. Let's see. Since they had the fans' choice, who has played and how many times has USA won? Jason's always been the
USA's won 13 times.
No, I mean,
and only
of the
4 in
fans'
home
choice,
court.
fans' choice matches. I don't
choice
think
match.
USA has won one because it's always been Jason or Filler against Shane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a tough question, but okay.
Federer's a different animal, though. or at least he can be.
Trot him out.
Listen, we want to see
Trot him out
Federer
there.
versus Shaw, don't we? Let's not be silly.
Everybody that's what everyone's going to want to see, especially with all the build-up.
Shaw's going to give it Federer in the press conference. There's no doubt about it. And then obviously, Federer knows this. They've been at each other, a little bit of pantomime. That's the match we're going to see. That's the match everyone wants to see.
Yeah.
It is. I agree with you there.
Well, it's been a great show. We appreciate both of you guys for hanging out with us. We're going to have a lot more Moscone Cup talk leading into the event. We got some stats that are going to be pretty interesting thanks to a friend of ours, and we're going to break that down over the next few days. And also, I don't know if we're allowed to say, but we're going to go ahead and say it. So Joey and I next week are going to be out there with Team USA in Dallas for a couple of days. So we're going to have a lot of exclusive content to show you guys, try to provide a different aspect into the players and how they're preparing. So make sure and keep your notifications on. Shout out to QTech for that as well. We appreciate you, Karl, and you, Scott, for both coming on. We're obviously big fans. We love busting your balls, and you guys provide great insight as well. Karl, by the way, it was nice knowing you. I don't think we're going to see you very much after Ara gets done. You thought the American fans were bad, buddy.
She's fine. I painted her in a good light in the documentary.
I don't.
Hey, I gotta speak real quick, Karl. Listen, man. Last night I've watched this a few times, and if you guys tuned in, go back to 2018, 2019, really. Boy, Karl's voice London was he was so dejected after USA had won that Final Four. I felt like you needed. I felt like you either needed a rubber room. Oh, you sounded you sounded 2019 when your boys got smoked.
I wasn't a pundit. I've only done it once.
You were talking. Was it?
You did 2019. You did 2019 in Vegas.
Yes, you did.
No, you didn't announce 2019 in Vegas when you said it's over. It's over.
I'm going to send it to you. I might have done one match. Okay, well, you were on at the end with Jim White.
Yeah. When Sky made the combination.
My whole point is you just didn't sound well. You sound a lot better after the last 3 years.
Oh, you're saying I've improved. You're saying I've improved.
Well, you were a little dejected. You were a little.
Well, we're gonna get to see how you sound this year, pal.
Yeah,
it's already starting. It's the season, boys. 'Tis the season.
All right.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining. It's been a lot of fun, and go USA.
Go USA.
Later, y'all.